This is Fox 8 News Morning Edition.
We'll get through this darkest day of Pittsburgh's history by working together.
I think that Squirrel Hill is strong, and we're going to remain that way.
Happening on Fox 8 Morning Edition, a community living a nightmare after a shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue. We'll take a look at the scene.
For it to happen in a synagogue on Shabbat, the day of rest, the day of peace, in the middle of services, it was a direct attack on the Jewish community.
Plus, how local religious community in Center County is reacting and coping during this tragic time. Good morning, and thanks for joining us for Fox 8 Morning Edition. I'm Jessica Guay. We have continuing coverage this morning of a mass shooting in Pittsburgh. We'll make sure we'll get to that story in just a bit. But first, let's go to Mary Hours right now. Mary, what's it going to be like outside today?
It's a little bit chilly, and we are looking at a few light rain showers, and with those winds, it does feel a lot colder. So breezy day today. A few light rain showers, that area of low pressure moving off to the northeast, and just not looking at anything too heavy or widespread, just cloudy and cool, and temperatures are going to be below average for our highs. And then we dry out tomorrow and warm up. Rainy throughout the second half of our week. So rain arrives again Wednesday throughout the end of the week, but above average. We're looking at the 60s returning. The weekend does look mainly dry. We're warmer from this time yesterday by about 5 degrees, but we're not going to be moving much from this today. Our current temperatures are in the upper 30s in St. Mary's. We're at 41 in Du Bois, 44 in Clearfield, 45 in Altoona, and then 41 in the Laurel Highlands. But still with those winds around 25 miles per hour, and then those winds out of the west-northwest around 15, 20 miles per hour. It does feel a lot colder. Feeling right around that freezing mark. In Johnstown, right at freezing at that 33 in Somerset, 34 Du Bois, and also in Clarion. So normal temperature should be at 54. We do get there tomorrow, and then even warmer than that for the rest of the week. Highs yesterday just touched 50, but today we are just going to stay into the low 40s with showers and still looking very windy, chilly with rain. I'll time it out for you and let you know how warm things get straight ahead.
Patrol at the front door. We got to evacuate some of these hostages. Received request for patrol at the front door, evacuating hostages. We have a spent magazine, looks like to a high-powered AK, middle hallway off the 1-4 corner. I got one alive, 3 back in 1 right now, still alive. We have at least 4 down in the atrium, DOA at this time. Additional 4 victims, second atrium off the front hall. Total of 8 down, 1 rescued at this time.
That was the police call just moments after Robert Bowers allegedly opened fire inside the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. According to federal law enforcement, Bowers made anti-Semitic statements during the shooting and targeted Jewish people on social media. We have team coverage this morning of the horrific rampage. Matt Baumgarten is standing by in State College. But first, let's get right to Sabrina Silva, who is live in Pittsburgh with more on the attack. Sabrina.
Yeah, Jessica, we're standing just across the street from the Tree of Life Synagogue, where FBI agents are back investigating the scene this morning. Police say this man, 46-year-old Robert Bowers, was the one behind the worst attack ever aimed at a Jewish community in America, taking the lives of 11 people and injuring 6 others. And as you can see, the scene was hectic that morning as first responders swarmed the streets here in Squirrel Hill when they got word of an active shooter inside the synagogue. Now, investigators say Bowers allegedly burst into the synagogue screaming, "All Jews must die," and other anti-Semitic comments as he opened fire. Now, Bowers was eventually detained by police, but it wasn't easy. Officials say there was a gunfight between Bowers and police on scene. They say 4 officers were hit and were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Now, Bowers also suffered gunshot wounds, but officials say he was detained in fair condition.
This is the most horrific crime scene I've seen in 22 years with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Members of the Tree of Life Synagogue, conducting a peaceful service in their place of worship, were brutally murdered by a gunman targeting them simply because of their faith.
Now, over half of the Jewish population here in the Pittsburgh area lives in or around this neighborhood. So as you can imagine, the whole community here feels the grief that this deadly shooting left behind. Many saying this could have been them. And speaking out in a heartfelt speech during a vigil for the 11 killed was Rabbi Jeffrey Myers of the Tree of Life Synagogue, calling on political leaders to stop the words of hate.
My texts, my emails, my Facebook overflow with love from strangers, people I've never met, people who are not from the United States, but from all around the world. Jewish, Christian, Muslim, all with the same message. We are here from you. My cup overflows with love. That's how you defeat hate.
Now, Bowers is facing more than 24 federal charges, including murder, hate crimes, and federal offenses. Now, a U.S. attorney here in the Pittsburgh area says they're seeking approval for the death penalty. Bowers is expected to be in federal court sometime early this week. But for now, reporting live in Squirrel Hill, I'm Sabrina Silva. Back to you.
Sabrina, thanks. Now, Matt is in State College with how Penn State is opening their doors for those coping with this tragedy. Matt.
Yeah, well, Jessica, just last Friday, the Jewish community here at Penn State and State College broke ground on a new Hillel Center right here behind me in downtown State College. The next morning, they were grieving the loss of those tragically killed in that synagogue in Pittsburgh. Penn State has one of the largest Jewish student populations in the country, with about 5,000 Jewish students attending Penn State. Members of their community saying that they're shaken, they're upset after the shooting massacre of 11 people inside the Tree of Life Synagogue in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood of Pittsburgh on Saturday. Many of them saying the fact that it happened on Shabbat, the Jewish Day of Peace, makes this all the more tragic. But through the horror, members of the Jewish community here in State College say it's important that they band together right now and make sure that hate does not win in this situation. Residents here tell me, Jewish or not, everyone here in State College has Pittsburgh's back right now.
I always hear about these things happening in other places, but this is home.
It's heartbreaking. We pray for all those who are lost. We pray for all those who are grieving those who are lost. And we prayed this morning at our Catholic Mass here.
Coming up in the next half hour, we'll hear from the executive director of Penn State's Hillel Center and get his thoughts and reaction to the tragedy that happened this past weekend. For now, live in State College, Matt Baumgarten, Fox 8.
Thanks, Matt. Support and love continues to spread this morning across the country and the world. The flag atop the White House was lowered at half-staff, and the Empire State Building displayed an orange halo. President Trump called the attack an assault on humanity, saying it must be condemned and confronted everywhere.
With one unified voice, we condemn the historic evil of anti-Semitism and every other form of evil. And unfortunately, evil comes in many forms. And we come together as one American people.
There was also a moment of silence prior to the start of the Pittsburgh Steelers football game yesterday. The Jewish Star of David replaced the top yellow diamond on a logo that is synonymous with Pittsburgh. The image has been shared on Twitter as users express messages of support with the hashtag #StrongerThanHate.
I just don't understand the thought and logic behind certain people that hate somebody so much that they never even knew to do a crime like that. So my condolences sincerely.
That's what Pittsburghers are. We're family for the sports, for each other, for all the different races, ethnicities, religions, everything we have here. It's such a melting pot, this city. And, for this to happen, brought tears to my eyes last night. And during that moment of silence pregame, same thing, because we all need to just love each other and put our faith in the Lord that we'll get this fixed.
Many in the Pittsburgh pro sports community personally took to Twitter as well to show their support. Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown wrote, quote, "Prayers up for Pittsburgh." The Pittsburgh Penguins wrote that they were incredibly saddened to hear of the tragedy, and the Pirates said their hearts broke at the news. Now at the forefront of many people's minds is the safety of the Jewish community, including here locally. Rabbi Audrey Karotin at the Temple Beth Israel in Altoona says it's not uncommon for synagogue doors to be open and welcoming, but now she says this shooting has violated their safe space in the most horrific way and will make her and other temple leaders rethink the open door policy.
We have actually had to think about these things. I have been with some of my lay people to active shooter training sessions and information sessions from the local police departments and from the Department of Homeland Security. And it's not just Jewish congregations, but Christian congregations of every denomination that are very concerned about how we protect ourselves.
Audrey says while thoughts and prayers may be all we can offer at this time, something more needs to be done.